swell. Now when we won't prove, no one can tell. No one knows or won't tell. Because the earth is flat. Kumbaya, kumbaya. We see too far. Kumbaya, kumbaya. We see this now. Kumbaya, kumbaya. The earth is flat. The earth is flat. Kumbaya, kumbaya. We see too far. Kumbaya, kumbaya. We see this now. Kumbaya, kumbaya. The earth is flat. We all love space, and science was our thing. Once upon a time, Einstein was the king. To think we touched the moon. What I like of it most is that we had the technology, but now it's all been lost. Eyes don't Betty, 'cause NASA never lies. The earth is flat. Kumbaya, kumbaya. We see too far. Kumbaya, kumbaya. We see this now. Kumbaya, kumbaya. The earth is flat. The earth is flat. Kumbaya, kumbaya. We see too far. Kumbaya, kumbaya. We see this now. Kumbaya, kumbaya. The earth is flat. The earth is flat. Kumbaya, kumbaya. We see too far. Kumbaya, kumbaya. We see this now. Kumbaya, kumbaya. The earth is flat. The earth is flat. Kumbaya, kumbaya. We see too far. Kumbaya, kumbaya. We see this now. Kumbaya, kumbaya. The earth is flat.
Thank you to Alexander Sasha Mexino Panish. Oh, here it comes again. Let me pause it. Shalom. Shalom, people. We're gonna have a quick little... Dude, thank you very much. That's very cool. Reality versus illusion. We're gonna have a little, well, just a little glance at what we have and see whether we're playing with people who are playing with a full deck or who might be missing a shilling or two, as we say in Britain, regarding things like, well, geometry, but also simpler, more obvious things. So let me get my, obviously I'm always ready. Let me get my whiteboard. Let me get my pen. First, we're going to share a story. This goes to the MGTOW out there. Let me pull it up, make sure I have everything correct. Just going to read a little story. Just bear with me a second. Make sure I screen share everything properly. Yes, this story. This goes to the MGTOW. Ah, dagnabbit. What the heck happened there? Roll down. Here's the story. Girl, 5, carries toddler half a mile in minus 35 degrees Celsius with no shoes on after Alaska blackout. Alone and frightened by an electricity blackout, a shoeless 5-year-old child carried her younger sibling half a mile to a neighbor's house in minus 35 degrees. Alaska State Troopers were called after welfare concerns were raised by the 2 children in Veneti, a village in the northeastern American state. The 5-year-old and 18-month-old arrived at the neighbor's home suffering from injuries relating to the cold weather. They had been dressed only in socks and light clothing. Julie Parker, 37, has been arrested on suspicion of endangering the welfare of a child. In a statement, the State of Alaska Department of Public Safety said Julie Peter, 37 years old, of Veneti, was arrested on 1 count of endangering the welfare of a minor in the 1st degree as a result of the investigation, which revealed she deserted a 5-year-old and 18-month-old in her home with no adult supervision. It continued, the 5-year-old became scared when the power went out and carried the 18-month-old approximately half a mile while dressed in socks and light clothing to the neighbor's house. Veneti is a small village and a population of around 175 people. It's approximately 155 miles north of Fairbanks. Wonderful. The MGTOW among you will read that story and go, look at this despicable woman, aged 37, this despicable woman, she's out there just resource hunting for men. And will have skipped, or just not registered, the parts where the person that did the rescuing of the toddler was a 5-year-old girl. That's what becomes a woman. Yes, I know there is some confusion in the mind of the Globelings, because that girl might end up being a man. Like, no. It's a girl. So I just wanted to share that. That's for, the MGTOW out there. And if you're MGTOW, you know what I'm talking about. I'm addressing you. Now, back to reality versus illusion. What's this? That's Ruhif. That's a Globling. Oh, he's part of this wolf pack. See this wolf pack? Great. And what's this? This is Critical Think. Oh, again, part of the wolf pack. And I only found these 3. Oh, there's Wally, the guy that likes fiddling with torches. Wolf pack again. Huh. They showed this, it's a little bit adolescent, but they showed their allegiance with this wolf pack paw print with a silhouette of a wolf howling in the moon. I think that's what that's supposed to be. Just bear with me a second while I display the other style. Oops, sorry, close this. So these guys, because they're mentally retarded, developmentally retarded, to the age of maybe a 14-year-old, rather than their appropriate age, they show this allegiance to a fellow Globling by, pasting this on their videos or their YouTube pages, this wolf pack symbol. You see the silhouette of the wolf there howling, ow. So this is Where's Wally, and this is a Critical Think. We're going to see whether there's much critical thinking going on. And this is a Ruhiv. I think there are others, but I couldn't be bothered looking too much. Those of you who have dogs might look at that paw print and go, that's very different to a dog paw print. And yes, wolves are not dogs. That's true, they're not dogs. They're very, very closely related to, they can breed with dogs. They're the same line of creature. So let's have a look at this paw print. This wolf pack paw print. But before we do, I'm going to tease it out a little bit. When I was 18, I lived in Spain. I moved to Spain and I taught English for a short while. My sister went to Florida, and I really liked some Native American things back then. I always have done. So she sent me this keychain. It was a leather keychain. It was about this big. Here was the loop that went for your ring for your keys. Leather chain, leather piece with a paw print that opened and you could close it down. It's like Oh, very interesting, this paw print. So I've just been sitting there, I've not really been going on about it. I just thought, now I'll bring it up. Because the paw print was, well, the paw print was this paw print, which is a grizzly bear paw print. That's right. Those critical thinking Groblings have got a grizzly bear paw print as their wolf pack symbol. That's right. What's a wolf print like? It's like this. Very similar to an Alsatian, you know. That's interesting, huh? Not much, let's see. Not much critical thinking going from this guy, Ruhif. Not much critical thinking from this guy who calls himself Critical Think, but didn't think of checking to see whether this emblem was at all correct. And of course, this Wally. So it's like, you know, there's reality and there's the illusion. You might have this emblem and be given the illusion that that's a wolf print. Why would you put a wolf silhouette on a bear print? Obviously, it's not going to be some other creature. It's going to be a wolf. But then you might check and go, hot damn. No. It's a bear print. It really is a bear print. And a wolf print is, well, like if you have a dog, similar to your dog's print. You know, you might have a husky, doesn't matter, you might have a chihuahua. Be a tiny version of this. Okay, you're welcome. Don't be embarrassed. You didn't design it, I'm sure. Don't be embarrassed. It's okay. It was just a little mistake. And maybe you could have checked before putting it on your YouTube channel page or your video card. Wally? You think somebody with critical thinking skills might critically think, might take that and go, I'm going to analyze this, I'm going to see, and no, none of that. None of that. Of course not. Because the Groblings, they're given the illusion that that's a wolf print because it's got a wolf howling, and because it's got the emblem, well, the words wolf pack. I go, there you go, that will do. Yeah, never seen a dog print or anything. No. It's not boding very well for you, is it? I think that's the word I wanted. It's just not. It shows a bit of stupidity for the Groblings. So one more time, I'm going to share the guys who share that print. I think there are others, but like I said, I could not be bothered looking. Ruhif, Critical Think, and where's Wally? Where's Wally? With this bear print, the silhouette of a wolf, with a wolf pack. Oh no, it is wolves hunting bears. Is it now? Is that what it is? Is that what it's symbolic of? Yeah. Well, we thought, what if we take the print of a bear, quite possibly a grizzly bear, and why don't we put like a wolf howling image in the bear paw for the wolf pack? Or maybe whoever it is that made that just messed up, didn't pay attention. Not like Groblings to not pay attention. Gosh, who'd have thought of that? Groblings not paying attention and not thinking. Who would have thought of that? That Groblings might not think, might just accept and believe. Hi everybody in the chat, I can see you now. So we're going to do something similar with geometry. in respect to measuring things like distances, you know, the thing we've been going on about the last couple of weeks. Distances and angles and what it tells us about the Earth that we're looking at. Considering it is not, despite the fact that it's mathematics, not exact, because it's not just mathematics, it's mathematics and the real world. And the real world doesn't quite reflect the mathematics. So it's rough. A good estimate. So what I have here, what I'm drawing, is several things over a flat line at roughly right angles. And I'm not working on scale or ratio or anything like that. I'm just showing, well, different things. Okay. Now let me make sure. Right. Here I have a straight line and some lines vertical from that straight line. Okay. And these will be all right angles. And like I said, this is not to, I'm not showing scale. Okay. That's not, I'm just showing, well, you might be here as an observer and be looking at this, or you might be here looking at that, or here looking at this, or you could be here looking at this, or so it doesn't really matter. What matters is this right angle, and I thank Green Grub for this. Just that, the right angle, yeah, for the equations. Now, remember how the globelings do this? They place a right angle halfway up the thing that they're measuring. Yeah, because they make this, wait, they make these extra triangles. Okay, so I'm going to, there's one, and there's another one, roughly speaking. And there's a third down there. Okay. Okay, so this is what the globelings generally do. They say, so we have an object, great. Let's make a triangle. And now I'm going to work with just one of them, it's two. But the same applies to the others. So we're going to bisect that triangle. And we're going to measure the size once we've bisected that. Problem for them is that they're trying to figure out, by bisecting the triangle, they're trying to figure out the size of the object from their distance, okay? Not from some remote distance above them, okay? Like this, look. So, in order to establish this length, okay, you might say, well, yes, the observer is here. The observer would be on that line. Okay, so it's the same distance from here as from there. Okay, but it's a slightly different situation. Just ever so slightly different situation from here to there. Why? Because in the real world, you can literally do that. Like I showed, you can literally use one simple triangle. Okay. But on the globe, and this is where I thank Green Globe, because it's a simple thing, but it just brought it up, laid down a little trap, and they fell straight into it. This here, where in the real world, I'm going to colour this with a different colour. I'm going to draw this in a different colour. Where in the real world, to establish distance to objects or size of objects, if you know the distance, you might do this. And it's all totally fine, see? Might do that, all totally fine. You don't have to imagine a point above you looking straight on, okay? And this is fine, and it's fine, and it works. But with a globe, you have a bit of a problem. See, there's distance between you and the object, which means that the object and the globelings say, oh no, well, what's going on is very slight. It means the object, can you see there? Yeah, is leaning a bit, isn't it? Because on your Earth, this is curved. Okay? And right angle follows the radius of the Earth. See? So in order to have a right angle from this, it wouldn't work from the flat Earth. It does work on the flat Earth. But with the globe, in order to have a right angle, you wouldn't just be able to do this, which we did before, which would just elevate the observer, create an observation point that's convenient for a bisected triangle. You're not leaning it this way, so you're not leaning it down towards you, so you can have the triangle from here at the bottom, okay? But if it leans away, the right angle is going to be at a different angle, which means, well, you're not measuring from this observation, which is not even established. They don't discuss this fact here, okay? You'll be measuring from, well, wherever that right angle would go. Is that taken into account? Not really. Why? Because the flat Earth configuration works. It's fine. You see? It's totally fine. But why do they do this elevating? Why do they do this bisecting? To disguise the lack of this curvature that's missing. Is to disguise it. Kind of simple, really. Now, if there are any globies in the chat who'd like to say, no, it's not to disguise anything, it's because first you have to address the fact that you can do it with plane trigonometry. So the it's because has to also apply to that. Okay? So I'm now going to look in the chat and see what globelings are saying. I see some comments that are so distracting. Good day, Tam Australia. Good day. So, and then I'm going to address one more thing. This is not going to be a very long hangout, by the way. I'm going to address a commentary, a critique by Bobby Shafto of my map. The first critique I've seen, it said, cool, so I'm going to address it. I'm going to counter. I'm looking in the chat for globelings. There must be some globelings there. Nobody's saying anything. Kind of disappointing, really. Yeah, nope, not seeing anything. Another at least 3, because there are 3 thumbs down. I mean, those could be half-witted mock flat earthers, like the Oakleys of the world. Mock flat earthers. Like, oh no, you mean this? This might have been infiltrated by people who have convinced others that they're real pondlings. Gosh, that's not what infiltrators would do, is it? They wouldn't convince people that they're the thing that they've infiltrated. No. When the British Army infiltrated the IRA, they didn't convince people in the IRA that they were IRA. No. The globelings are speechless. Gen Viva. The poor globelings delude themselves, like with the bear paw, playing the role of a wolf paw. I mean, we know that there's transgenderism going on in the world of the globe. Maybe there's a bit of trans species going on too, saying, well, a bear can be a wolf too if he wants. A trans bear, a trans wolf. Spake face. It's okay. It wasn't your comment actually. It was somebody else. Right. So, let me go over that one more time. But this time without the ruler. Okay. So we have a triangle, and it works perfectly fine, and it has done since before the Earth was a globe. That's right. Don't think that the Greeks were using spherical trig. Don't think that the Romans were using spherical trig, you know, to build their viaducts and aqueducts. No, they weren't. Don't be so silly. To build those colossal buildings? No, they weren't. Okay. Hey, here's an interesting fact. A quarter of an inch, is it a quarter of an inch or an eighth of an inch? The Canadian National Tower, the CN Tower. Yeah. So the CN Tower. I'm doing a very rough little drawing of it. The CN Tower is just off plumb. Very little bit off plumb. There's a version of the CN Tower. Yeah, it's nearly completely vertical. But wait a second. 42 degrees north, with the globe spinning centrifugal away, centripetal towards Earth. There's a discrepancy between the two. Let me show you, globelings. And it's this discrepancy where the CN Tower should be built. Oops. Right, so we're going to say, let me do it a bit better. Let's vector out. Okay. So that's direction and that's gravity. Okay. So look, okay, this is playing the role of 42 north latitude. Okay, this will be, well, a latitude line, you understand. This will be the radius of the Earth, okay, which is the direction towards which, or the vector, followed by gravity, that way, okay? Very good. The centrifugal force of the spinning Earth around an axis would be casting this out, well, at right angles to the axis, okay, so it would be this way, okay? That's how centrifugal force works. Right angles to the axis. Okay, well, if Earth's gravity is pulling in this direction, but Earth's spin is pushing in that direction, to build something vertical that's not going to fall, being pulled by either gravity or being pushed by centrifugal force, can you see you'd have to build it, well, half, in a point, along a line that's halfway between the two. You see what I just drew? Yeah. Is that where the CN Tower is built? Nope. No, it's just engineering. It's just that it's so incredibly difficult to get it in exactly vertical. It's not built just off to fall within that line. Don't be silly. Okay? Another interesting little fact. 72 minutes for the restaurant to go round. 72 minutes for the restaurant to go all the way around. 90 minutes for the ISS to go all the way around. In which case, when the ISS is going across the sky and the restaurant is going across, is scrolling across, the ISS with a point on a table at the restaurant, okay, well, I'll do a little drawing. I like drawing. So here's a table and here's window and there's landscape and there's the ISS. Then here's a bottle of Coca-Cola. Ooh, there. Okay, ish. And you've placed a camera here to film the bottle of Coca-Cola with the ISS there, and the ISS is going to go across the sky that way. Okay? You've chosen a point where it's not going to come directly over your head. You've chosen a point where it's to your south and it's going to go across the sky for a brief period. Great. Well, then the Coca-Cola bottle, this should move ahead of the Coca-Cola bottle only a tiny, tiny bit. Tiny, tiny bit. But this is going to be out of the frame in 2 minutes, in less than 2 minutes, if it's doing such a short transit across the sky. So it would have appeared here and go down there. Okay. So how does that work? How this is taking 72 minutes. The other's taking 90 minutes. So what should happen, really, sorry about this, is over a period of time, the ISS should be just behind. Sorry, I got it literally reversed. This should go ahead of the ISS. That's right. Yeah, because this is rotating once in 72, and the ISS is rotating, whoa, once in 90. Do you think that this really happens in the real world? Or do you think the degrees might be a tool that's made for purpose, and when you try and use it for something else it doesn't quite work, and it brings the dispelling of the idea that degrees can be used across the board? Because I made a video in my previous channel called Physicists Measure the Speed of Time, because it's a gibberish. So if you think that you can go to the CN Tower and sit at a restaurant when the ISS appears above the horizon and set up a Coke bottle, and you think that what's going to happen is the restaurant is going to scroll ahead of the Coke bottle, sorry, the Coke bottle is going to go ahead of the ISS, I think you'll be surprised to find out, nope, no, oopsies. But I'm sure the Globalians will have reasons to object to this question. It's just a question. There should be answers to questions, not just objections. So what I was going to do was find, give me a second. Bobby Shafto's video critiquing the map. Oh, an honest critique. It's not a half-wit critique like QMV. So sorry. So I'm going into my history. I'll pull it up and I will share. Poor QNV. The guy. Like, but wait a second. According to the globe, the sun and the moon are in various different locations, if you actually look properly. According to Antonio's flat earth map, the sun and the moon are in several locations. In fact, they're not even, his S is not even a thing that's at a location. Huh. So here we go. It's a shame that he's sharing this map. I mean, it's a nice map, but it's a shame that he's sharing this map, because some of what he's going to be doing is discussing longitudes, and I have a map with longitudes. So let me display. Here it is, and I'm going to make it full screen. So, because you have to read what he's writing. Right, so here you go. Let's watch this. If anybody's interested, check of Antonio Subirats Flat Earth Map, version 2, Bobby Shafto. I haven't seen a version 1. Didn't even know that there was a version 1. Well, that's interesting. I'm going to have to take a look. So let's see. Volume, yes. I think there's no audio with it. This is a map of the Earth, according to Flat Earth proponent Antonio Subirats, author of the Book of the Sun. Antonio is critical of the azimuthal equidistant AE rendering of a flat Earth, which is popular with most flat Earth proponents. The AE map is a projection of the 2D surface of a 3D globe onto a 2D planar surface, which creates distortions, particularly south of the equator. The Gleason's new standard map of the world was a late 19th century rendering based on the AE projection and is often synonymous with the AE map. Antonio argues that the Gleason's... Geez, I'm not playing this at extra fast speed, this is normal. Okay. Antonio argues that the Gleason's AE maps are anti-flat Earth disinformation and should be rejected by advocates of a flat Earth. Yeah, that's right. Absolutely, 100%. You can't say, the Earth is flat, it actually has range and size, but you can only depict an idea of it. Like, no, you can depict the actual range and size. Antonio read-drew the world map to correct for the distortions of land masses and distances between points on Earth in the Gleason's AE map, championing... Ugh, taking a bit. Pause. Championing his creation as a correct, or at least closer to correct, rendering of a flat Earth. That's right. Now we have to wait because, post it. Okay. In a video shortly after publication of his book, Book of the Sun, Antonio provided a method for determining the distance key for users of his map. Okay, from this northern point on the continent of Africa, to this point on the southern tip of 5,000 miles according to Antonio. Okay, yes. From the coastal boundary between Algiers and Morocco to the very bottom of South Africa. 5,000 miles. And you can use that to check distances flown by planes and travelled by ships. Oh, I almost missed it. From this northern point to the from this northern point to the continent of Africa to the point of the southern by 5,000 miles according to Antonio, which can be used for establishing distances elsewhere. That's right. So, with the distance key, I'd like to put the Subirats map to the test against a recent puzzle I proposed to the Flat Earth community. Wonderful. Find link to puzzle in the description. Oh, we'll look at that after this. I had noticed that on November 18th at 1500 UTC, the sun had not yet set for Mombasa, Kenya, while Fairbanks, Alaska was still over 3 hours from sunrise. Ooh. Okay. He has placed the sun there in Brazil. And so he's going to, one second. He's going to say, so how can this be happening if the sun is closer to Fairbanks than Mombasa? Because the sun is not anywhere. But on every flat Earth map, including the Subirats map, the distance from the sun's subsolar point to Fairbanks was shorter than to Mombasa. That's right. Now, what is this subsolar point? When you're under the sun, and so the sun's nadir. The sun is at your zenith, directly overhead. Your shadow is directly underneath you. Like Eratosthenes famously looking through his transparent head into the well in Syene. Right. So, shadow directly underneath you, the sun is directly overhead. Wonderful. Okay. Your horizon to one side and to the other, and ahead of you and behind you. How far? Well, not very far. If you're at the beach, approximately 12 miles. If you're not 6 foot, you're on a veranda somewhere, and it's 6 miles in one direction and 6 miles in the other. That's 12 miles. That's under the canopy of that sun. Now, if you go 6 miles further north, the sun's going to appear to be above your zenith too. but it isn't. It's going to be just slightly such a small fraction that you wouldn't notice. It's because the sun is a holoprismatic phenomenon. And the same if you were to go east or west. The sun is going to appear to follow you, just like a rainbow appears to follow you, but doesn't quite, it doesn't exactly follow. So let's continue. Now, here we have an idea, which is a rectangular map of a spherical Earth's mapping, where on that, when this map is transposed onto an actual sphere, it falls short of the northern continents are too small, and the oceans are they're about half their actual size, the real oceans. So that blue idea, which is from Time and Date, we're going to discuss translating the sunrise-sunset line from timeanddate.com, from the timeanddate.com world Mercator map to the Subirats, produces this demarcation between sun up and sun down across a flat Earth. Yes, not quite. It's a bit flattened. Oh wait, let me display with the cursor so you can see my cursor. Here. You see how it's kind of flattened here. It's not really flattened here. It's more of a gentle curve. Okay. But you'll see, let's see, what is he drawing? I think he's drawing this line. Okay. Goes across here. I'm checking. Yeah, he's got it a bit, he's not got it quite right. It goes, actually, if you draw it here, it goes, oh, yes, very good. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to transpose these, actually make day and night maps. The point is, he's saying, how could this be being illuminated like this with an electrified sky? But he's not actually asking that. He's saying, look, according to our globe model, what's happening is direct light is falling on the Earth from a distant sun, and it illuminates like so. When transposed onto a 2D surface, like this Mercator map, this is what it would look like. The sun is more to the south of the equator, so it's illuminating a bit more of the south. Isn't that very good? But it's impossible for the sun to be far away from the Earth, and thermonuclear detonation, continuous nuclear fusion, it's just silliness. The observations say it's just silliness. And separate from that, this slightly hastily drawn line here is showing this area in darkness, which is this area, okay, here in darkness. Very good. So this will be in darkness, and this will be in light. Is there some kind of phenomenon that might cause this? Well, yes, there is a phenomenon that would cause this. It would be, well, electrified magnetic field lines. Huh. Okay. And what is this phenomenon of electrified magnetic field lines, or an electrified magnetic field going on to create an iridescence of gases? What the hell do you call that thing? Well, you call it day. That's what you do. You call that the day. Okay, so let's continue. This is based mainly on his idea that here's the sun, and therefore it can't illuminate like this. It's like, no, silly. When you're showing that the sun is here, the sun is actually, it would be an arc like this, and many arcs like so, with a nexus here, when seen from here. When seen from here, well, you can't really tell so much of a difference. You have no idea what you're seeing from here, because all of this has been excised from the map. You see the map here between Africa and Brazil? Yeah, you've just excised that. You've just cut that chunk clean off so you can make it into a globe. Unfortunately, the size of the ocean says, you've cut a great big chunk off, you know. So let's continue. Not only do the distances seem off, but the apparent line of bearing of sunset as seen from Mombasa is way off too. Oh, is it? Let's see. Mombasa view of sunset in this direction. Yes, look. Mombasa view of sunset in this direction here. That's right. Sunset. So that's not... let me go back. That's not now. That's when this line has moved around. Okay. The other line has moved too. And it's a correct line, not this slightly hastily placed one. So when it gets to the point that the line is here, so this line here, when it gets to the line being here, and that would be just the illumination line, not the charge line. The charge line is literally the other way around. Ah, well, it's in that direction. It's like, yeah, that's right. That's the direction that it's in. Oh, but we're not familiar with this. That's okay. Don't worry yourselves about it. So let's continue. Not only do the distances seem off, but the apparent line of bearing of sunset as seen from Mombasa is way off too. Great. 3.5 hours later, or 3 2/3 hours later, the sun finally rose for the observers in Fairbanks, a little over 5,000 miles away from the sun's subsolar point and close to the correct azimuth. Okay, so close to the correct azimuth for it rising. That's jolly good. It's a fluke of good luck, isn't it? And close to the correct azimuth, but 5,000 miles away. Right, okay. And that's a subsolar location, or the nadir, the sun's nadir. Okay. But at the same time, in Sydney, over 4,000 more miles farther away from the subsolar point than Fairbanks, the sun was also rising, but on a bearing different from the straight line direction as depicted on the Subirats map. Wait, I don't depict a straight line direction. What is this? On a bearing different from the straight line direction as depicted on the Subirats map. Where in the Subirats map is there a straight line direction depicted for this point? Like, no sir, this is the direction, that way. Not this, silly. The sunlight arrives as an arc, like the yin-yang. The sunrise arrives as an arc. Okay, so in this case it would be like so. The arc. Like I'm drawing with a cursor. See, when you go back, where was it? Here, see this arc? So we've rotated it, and now when this point here arrives at Fairbanks, this point here arrives in Sydney, or wherever it was he was checking. Ah, there you go. You've entered the field that manifests the sun. Where's the sun? That direction. Very good. Where's the sun at a different time of year? Well, in a slightly different direction. Huh. What's dictating the direction to the sun? What's dictating the shift throughout the year? The shifting field. That's what. So let's go ahead to where we were. Where he's saying, not according to the straight line on the Subirats map. There's no, this is this. Different from the straight line direction as depicted on the Subirats map. This is false. You shouldn't do this. Okay, you've injected that. That's not in my map. This thing, this red line, is not in my map. In fact, there's no little suns in my map. Let's continue. See how easily I just dismissed that little straw man? But no, that's your straw man. You deal with it. Antonio has some decidedly novel and unorthodox for flat Earth ideas in explaining the appearance of the sun and explanation of sunlight. That's right. Which goes against mainstream physics. Apart from now, mainstream physics has kind of split into two. Some which are working with the old-fashioned quantum and relativity world, and the others which are working with the electric universe thunderbolts project. Guess what those guys are saying? That's right, they're saying what I'm saying about light. Oh dear. But let's continue. But his map does not jive with distances. Distances to what? To a rainbow? See how if I ask that, it becomes really absurd to say the distance to the sun? Saying, wait a second. Like, I've explained time after time, the sun is a manifestation like the rainbow is a manifestation. It's intangible, it is not actually there. Okay? It's not really there. So there's no distance to it. So let's say we had an arc rainbow, and let's say you moved towards that arc rainbow, and let's say you reached a point where that arc rainbow, and this is just conjecture, okay, this is a thought experiment, you're moving towards the center of that arced rainbow in a really fast, like sand buggy, okay, you're going towards it, and you get to a point, let's imagine that this happened, that the rainbow starts being above you, and it gets to the point where it's directly above you, as a circle in the sky directly above you. Does that mean that the person at the point where you started your race to the rainbow, that person is now seeing a disc from its side? No, they're still seeing a rainbow. See, it's an intangible thing. It doesn't actually have a location in space. By the way, I have seen a rainbow directly over my head, and it was incredibly interesting because it was tiny. It was a very small rainbow directly overhead. So it was one of my globing friends. His map does not jive with distances. Never mind. Or azimuths. If the azimuths are determined by tangible objects, then it's not going to jive because the sun is not a tangible object. No, the azimuth is what the azimuth is. It's got nothing to do with the location of any sun at all. Zero. None. The sun doesn't have a location. Antonio spends a lot of time trying to draw focus towards the problems with the globe model. Yep, I do. And let's see. But his flat Earth alternative has problems of its own that are more perplexing than any conceived issues a globe Earth may or may not have. It's like, yes, look. If somebody says to you, the reason you exist is because some elves made you. That's an interesting and easy to grasp idea. Oh, that's it. They used to tell children that the stork brought babies. Hey, how did I start being a baby? The stork brought you. Now, it's easier to understand than, well, there's a biochemical reaction from sperm and egg and a whole series. That's a lot more complex. Okay? Your main objection with mine is that the concepts that I'm proposing are more perplexing than any conceived to the child who's been told that he was brought by a stork or that he was made by elves. The truth is more perplexing than any conceived issues regarding having been brought by a stork or made by elves. Do you see? Just because an explanation is simple to grasp doesn't mean it's true. Let's continue. I think that's the end. But then we're going to go to his puzzle, his flat Earth puzzle thing. Yes, that's the end. Very good. By the way, you do realise that your video has been flagged as a flat Earth video? It's interesting. A conundrum mentioned in the video can be found here. Okay, so now we're going to see this conundrum. If it's to do with let me see if it's only a Gleason's thing. Oh no, it's not. Okay. Yeah, it's again no audio. So we're gonna go. We're gonna play this. I haven't seen this. It's gonna be interesting. Is it the same? Yeah, kind of the same. Okay. I'm not gonna address the Gleasons because it's got nothing to do with me. It's a crock of nonsense. Here, I'm gonna address this one instead. How can Fairbanks, Alaska still be in darkness and it be day in Mombasa, Kenya, when the sun is overhead, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil? How can that be the case? Because the sun, which manifests in the charged sky of day, appears to be over Rio de Janeiro, whilst it appears to be at different azimuths to other places, because the voltage in the sky for the people who are looking at the sun has different levels to it. The highest most point is solar noon, the lowest point is dusk, or again sunrise. That's how. If you're thinking that it's a small ball that illuminates like a tiny torch, you're wrong. The sun is not illuminated by an external light. There's no sun that illuminates the gases in the sky that go on to bring day. It's literally the other way round. The electrified charge of the sky causes this fantastic, beautiful phenomenon called a rainbow, but also this fantastic, beautiful phenomenon called the sun. It's the same charge that creates that. Okay, so let's go on. Okay, so again, it's addressing distances to a physical, a localized object in the sky. Okay, I'm watching. Explicable on a globe. Oh dear, that's deceitful. You shouldn't do that. Okay, you really shouldn't do that. I'll tell you why. Let me see. I'll tell you why. Okay. Well, we'll go. What's the? I'll pick the day. Let me make a note. We'll go here, and then we'll look at another little problem that he's either ignorant of, or just choosing to not mention. Okay. Some flat earthers will already know what I'm talking about. So I will come back to the day. What was the day? So 1500 UTC, 18 November. 18th of November. Okay. The main point is the 18th of November. Okay, so let's continue. Explicable on a globe. Oh, we'll see that it isn't right. In fact, it's going to be like, oh no, gee, not this again. This I'm not addressing because it's got nothing to do with me, because it's a crock of nonsense. Oh, don't need to address it because it's a crock of nonsense, this. Instead, we're going to go to time and date. World map. Time zone. No, where is it? Day and night. Where is it? Where's the day and night? Day and night map. Okay. And it was 18th of November. Okay, so November 18. November. 18. We don't need to worry about the time. We can move the time forwards and backwards. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to go back an hour. And back an hour. And back an hour. And some pondlings will be familiar with what I'm showing. They'll know this. But your globelings, some of you said that you would accept the challenge and then didn't accept the challenge. Okay? The challenge was this. Can you see how right now sunlight is arriving at New Zealand? And it's just ended in, well, Scotland. Okay, this is November. Okay, so we're now going to move to December. No, we're going to go to March. Change the time. And plus 1 hour. And plus 1 hour. Oops, need to go back in minutes, in 10-minute increments. Oopsies. Can you see how there's direct sunlight in Scotland and direct sunlight in New Zealand? Get off, little thing. That's direct sunlight in New Zealand, while direct sunlight in Scotland. Now we're going to go back to see how much. Okay, so minus 10 minutes, let's see. That tip of New Zealand still receiving light. Okay, and now plus 10 minutes. And now you can't do less than 10 minutes. The reason I'm showing this, it's more than 10 minutes that the two share light. Why do I say this? Because according to the globe, they've hedged their bets that there's approximately 4 minutes of extra sun visible in the sky because of refraction. Well, this was longer than that period. Okay? So, minus 10 minutes. Okay, that's 10 minutes there. And let's see, go again, minus 10 minutes. And another 10 minutes. Can you see that tip of New Zealand? Not explicable on the globe. Feel free to grab a globe, illuminate it from a distance, then draw that illumination. In fact, I will do this. I will do this tomorrow. I'll make a video. I've been meaning to make a video. Where am I? Here. That's not explicable on the globe. Not even with the refraction of the sun. So I will make a video tomorrow. I've got a really excellent lamp. I'll move the sun. I set it up already. I have a stack of books. I've got the center of the lamp, at the center of the globe. I'm going to do several videos covering several things. One of which would be that. Okay? So that's peculiar, isn't it? Now, give me a second before let me just check. So I'm going to check September. I should be still screen sharing, but let me just check. Yeah, same thing as September. Oh, looks like it might be even more. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to screen share because it is more. So, very tip of Scotland there. Sunlight. Direct sunlight, not refracted sunlight. You could say that this region is refracted sunlight. I don't know, you might want to add it. It's not important to me. Very tip of Scotland. Light, sunlight. New Zealand, sunlight. Now we're going to go back 10 minutes. So look at the two. Okay, let me pan away. Back 10 minutes, both have sunlight. And then back another 10 minutes. That's 20 minutes. Both have sunlight. Britain, too. Most of Britain now has England, I meant. Interesting, huh? Not explainable on your globe. Like, really not explain. This is just depicting the illumination over the land masses of Earth. It's not depicting the globe. And let's go back another 10 minutes. Okay, now, the very tip, maybe if you could adjust it by 10 seconds. That's half an hour of shared sunlight between Britain and New Zealand. Okay, so look, I'll tell you what I'll do. See how it's just reaching here, okay? In fact, I'll tell you what, I might see if I can change the seconds. Put it under 5 seconds. Okay, just reaching. From now on, everything that I move forward is going to be light coming into New Zealand. Okay, so I'm going to move in 10-minute increments. Okay, so 10 minutes. New Zealand and Britain receiving direct sunlight. That's one 10-minute increment. 10 minutes. New Zealand and Britain receiving direct light. So that's 20 minutes. And another 10 minutes. New Zealand and very tip of Scotland receiving same light. Half an hour of direct sunlight between the easternmost New Zealand and the westernmost Scotland. Why do you think New Zealand is placed there on your globe maps? Because this happens in the real world. Now, funny story. When they found New Zealand, okay, when Cook found New Zealand, they didn't know about magnetic declination. So when their compass is telling them that they're sailing south, so southeast, when in reality they're sailing just east, they wouldn't know that they hadn't sailed just east. Why would they? Their compass is telling them they're sailing southeast. So when they arrive at the land, they're like, well, here we are. This is southeast of where we were. That's right. But if you take a flight from Sydney, approximately here, to Auckland, approximately here, you take a flight, you fly this way. Your compass, when you take the flight and you check the compass heading and you check that this is a real compass, okay, not a compass that's been tweaked to compensate for the actual declination, okay? You fly over here. That's right. You go from Sydney, you fly over here. That's what happens in the real world when you adjust for magnetic declination. Now, you can't say that because that's inconvenient, this region has no magnetic declination, because it really does. Okay? Just thought I'd I tell you. Just thought I'd share that with you, Globlings. Right, so now I'm going to join you in the chat. By the way, there's I think he's called Tom McAfee. I might have the first name wrong. McAfee. There's some of you know that name. You think McAfee? Oh yeah, there's a computer virus protecting system called McAfee. Yes, I'm referring to that guy. That guy, the guy who developed the McAfee antivirus, is going to be interviewed by the Mensa girl. That's right. He's going to be interviewed by the Mensa girl. Interesting, huh? Okay, so now, chat. Cooler Dave says, Antonio, if the sun is like the rainbow, why the rainbow does not project shadows like the sun? Because the sun is like a rainbow in terms of its nature, not its qualities. You could say, if the sun is like the rainbow, why is the sun not multicolored? You know, it's the same kind of phenomenon. It's an interaction between, well, a static charge, which would be an electromagnetic voltage that can be tested with Teslas. Mensa girl, Adelaide Marie Robinson. Yes, that's often read. It's a charge. The sky has a charge. The higher you go, the higher the charge in volts. Okay, this charge is what creates the rainbow. It's also what creates the sun. The charge of the sky, not the other way around. Not the sun sends out a charge and that lights up. It's the same with lightning. It's not a point lights up and generates light that goes out. It's the other way around. There's a build-up of charge, and when it switches over to light, it then makes a rainbow. Lightning, either ball lightning, sheet lightning, which just means it's above the clouds, or the actual lightning strike. I intend to email you tomorrow regarding something if okay. Sparkly, yeah, for sure, man. Antonio Subiras arts at yahoo.com. Let's see. The sun is the light source. The magnetism exciting noble gases is in the upper atmosphere. It's the source of light that makes shadows. That's right. But we have literally, we know, well, there are certain types of mentalities that will literally invert things. Okay, so a bad guy will say everyone is bad. Okay, they will project. There are personalities that will project, that will literally invert. Somebody does something very kind, they say that they have done the very kind thing. They haven't, they're just saying that. Okay, we have the world being illuminated from the sky, and people saying it's this thing, this distant thing is bringing light. Like, no, it isn't. This thing is creating that thing that you think is a distant object. And at night, when there's no cloud, well, at night, even when there's cloud, above the cloud, you have these pinprick points, which are also nexus points. All of the stars and all of the bodies, all of the planets or the wandering stars, they're also nexus points. Okay, you're seeing a nexus point as you move. Those nexus points are also charges in filaments. So the sun is an overall filamentary charge. The charge energizes light, energizes noble gases, which go on to, well, the noble gases as a secondary point. First, there's radiation. The radiation forms filaments. The spin of the radiation energizes the noble gases that are being penetrated and taking the space up between the filaments that have been energized. by the voltage. This is what generates light. The sun is an overall field, when seen from underneath, of that. If you were above looking down, you wouldn't see the sun. You wouldn't see the sun. I thought, okay, how do you paint this from above? Like, you can't. You don't see the sun. You don't see a black sun. I was going to call, one of the thoughts I had for calling the book was going to be the back of the sun. Because, book of the sun, but you wouldn't see the back of the sun if you were above looking. There's no way to actually get out so far that you can look down on the sun and the surface of the earth, regardless of what the globings say about distance and the emptiness of space. But if you could, you would not see the sun. You just wouldn't see it. Just like you can't see the rainbow from the other side of the rainbow looking this way. Same situation. The rainbow is the best way of explaining and figuring out what the sun is. So I am working on more maps, including day and night maps, and the maps that I have now are in the description, in the Patreon, which is right at the top of the list of things in the description. Go and get the maps. If you want to look at the longitudes, and these are just 24 longitudes, because I separated them into hours, into 15-degree increments. I've got several longitudes, okay? So I've got the longitudes are set by day and night. If you want the longitudes as would be used for coordinates, those would be the longitudes from the equinox period, okay? And if you want to go ahead, print that out, and if you want to add the latitudes, then add the latitudes. Follow the same pattern. It's a fluid pattern, so it's not a static, rigid, perfectly circular pattern. Stuart Mackenzie writes at the Book of the Sun, I saw a honeycomb structure in the sun one time. What do you think that is? I think you're seeing the bundles of filaments. They can't be just perfectly circular when they're very bound together. They're going to create a honeycomb shape. And I think that's why bees make honeycombs, because it's the most conservative shape for covering area, but also because they see filaments that we don't see. Like, they absolutely see ranges of light that we don't see. And I think they see these filaments and go, right, here you are. There's your boundary, here's my boundary, and here I'm putting wax here, you put wax there, and there you go. Fascinating, Stuart Mackenzie. I have a thing somewhere. Yes, this, which was sent to me by a wonderful, wonderful person. I have it in the Book of the Sun. See if you can get this. Okay, I have just this chapter. Flight Chapter 5 of V.S. Grebenikov's My World. Get that. I think the PDF is out there. Okay, somebody went and printed it for me. Stuart Mackenzie, get this. If you've not read it already. Because when you read this and you look at your question about the hexagonal shapes, the honeycomb shapes, when looking at the sun, you'll be fascinated. I was fascinated. Let me see. Right, so Cooler Dave writes at the Book of the Sun. Okay, I get it, but how do you explain the sun in high altitude balloons and eclipses? That seems to be in the physical, in line physically with the moon. It's the sun a nexus? The sun is a nexus, the moon is a nexus. A nexus is a human thing, okay? Like, this is important to know. The nexus is a geometric way of explaining the human phenomenon, a human thing. Sorry, I have a message, 1 second. So when I explain nexus or even filaments, okay, the nexus and the filaments are a human perceptual tool. Okay, it's a tool so that we can discuss these things. The sun and eclipses. Let me go back and read the thing. I explain the sun in high altitude balloons and eclipses. Okay, first, the sun in high altitude balloons. You're seeing the nexus from a high altitude balloon. Look, Cooler Dave. Let me see what I'm displaying. What am I displaying? Yeah. You're on a high altitude balloon. Okay, and you're seeing the sun there. A gust of wind comes and moves you 10 miles that way. Okay, and you're seeing the sun there for these 10 miles that the sun is moving you that way. That the wind is moving you that way. Okay, you're seeing the sun there. Okay, there's going to be a tiny change, and a very small change in where the sun actually is from where you were before the gust came and where you are when it finishes. We're talking a completely theoretical gust of wind, okay, because the truth is you will swing and all kinds of stuff, but for purposes, sun there, you move, gust of wind comes along, whoop, sun there, because you're now 10 miles over this way. But there was a guy 10 miles away from you, okay, so you're looking at the sun here, he's looking at the sun in that direction. When you've moved and you're looking at the sun from there, the guy's now here. You're all looking at your nexus point to the sun. That's what's happening. We all do. We only see the nexus point to the sun from our specific point of view. Now, when there's an eclipse, and the eclipse is being filtered through a grid, leaves, anything. If the eclipse is being filtered by a small mesh, you'll see that the light is coming through with the eclipse and hitting a surface, the pavement, the wall, whatever surface the light is hitting. And you'll have as many eclipses as you have beams of light transmitting the information about the eclipse, explaining eclipse happening. Okay? That's not explainable with the wave theory of light of the globe. That's just definitely not explainable. But this is what happens in the real world. So you've got a grid with 50 holes. You've got 50 different iterations of the eclipse. At those 50 different iterations of the eclipse, you could have a human eyeball at each one. Here, this eyeball is looking at the eclipse as... I'll do it with a drawing. Okay, so... And they're not all the same size either. Okay. Roughly speaking, it's the same eclipse. These are beams of light. Okay, so here. Beam, 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 beam. So these are beams of light that are coming through something, landing on a surface, and there's the eclipse. It's represented in each beam of light. Okay? Now, this surface, if you wanted to, you could say, that's interesting. I'm going to cut a little hole in this surface and go around the other side and look. And here, you could do this with a piece of paper. When there's an eclipse, set up a grid, hold the piece, fix a frame, have the things, draw around, cut around, go around the other side, there's the eclipse. That's what's going to happen to all of these. Okay, this is not explainable with the wave theory of light. The wave theory of light is the theory that says object blocked by another object is what causes eclipse. Okay, that theory cannot cover this. It cannot explain this. It also can't explain rainbows, but never mind. It can't explain this. Okay, my theory does explain it. It explains the sun is a holoprismatic nexus. If that nexus is interrupted by something, the filaments go round the object, but they continue transmitting the same information. When you're seeing the nexus there on your balloon, and the guy 10 miles away is seeing the nexus where he's seeing it, and you're moving that way, you're seeing the nexus that's reaching you. The gap between nexus is almost non-existent. They're overlapping. The filaments are overlapping. They cross each other. Okay, they're not just side to side like this. Okay, they overlap. They overlap in such a way that if you could take a snapshot of how they overlap, you'd have the flower of life image. That's how they overlap. Now, eclipse. Okay, so the actual eclipse. What's happening with the actual eclipse? With the actual eclipse, you've got a level of charge in the air that brings a day. Okay, we're talking about solar eclipse first. Solar eclipse, charge in the day, in the sky, that brings day, and manifests this holoprismatic nexus, which is the sun. There's an interruption to this charge. There's a pushing down, a bending, okay, which displaces the charge. And this bending, which displaces the charge, manifests in the nexus as, oh look, there's something occluding the sun. Must be the moon. It's like, no, it's something that's changing the charge, so it's no longer a perfectly circular charge that we're seeing. The filaments aren't transmitting information of a perfectly circular charge. They're sending the information of a charge that has a dent, a depression in it. And that's what comes. Now with the moon, similar thing, only it's different charges, it's layered. So you have the moon, holoprismatic effect, just like the sun. You have a charge that's either depressing or extending the field, like a membrane, okay? Like water. If you picture, well, think of water surface tension. And you can, anybody can do this. You can do it with your own finger, okay? Shine a light through water and then touch very gently the surface of the water, and you'll see that as you touch it, the ripples cause a disturbance to the light that's arriving underneath. We're underneath seeing the sunlight or the moonlight when we're looking at an eclipse. If you have an actual object that can cause a depression but not physically block the sun, so where the object is tiny, okay, you could do it with a small straw if you're blowing, okay, but you can do it with small plastic rods, like I have one here somewhere. You can make a small depression with a rod where you can see the rod, but you can also see how the depression itself is hiding light. Okay, that's a depression to a physical surface. Now we're talking about a depression in a membrane that's just the shear layer between different potential voltages in the sky. Okay, there's a shear, there's like a fluid shear condition in this supposed membrane of shear, of changing direction of fluids. There's a depression. This depression translates to the moon, to the thing that we call the moon. It's not an object actually hiding a light, it's a depression changing the field that we manifest, that we consider the moon. But the field, that's where the depression is happening, it could be happening from the side in a region that you would never think of, because the moon's over there. But there's a depression happening The depression is manifesting in the moon and say, oh look, it's being occluded from the right. Huh, that's interesting. It's being occluded from the right. That shouldn't be happening. It should be being occluded from the left as it goes into Earth's shadow. Oh, it's a selenilian. Oh, I see. That's kind of what's happening. And there aren't the words to explain it. So when I'm trying to explain this, I'm using, there's a very, the vocabulary with which to express these things is very limited because there just aren't words to explain this. So when I'm explaining the shear, the friction shear from fluids going in different directions, or winds or fluids basically going in different directions, and the surface shear, when I'm translating that using those terms to voltage potentials, so that's voltage that isn't being discharged, yeah. When I'm explaining this, I'm having to borrow from this, the fact that fluids do have this different layering that happens, and using that because we don't have other words. So so that's why I developed the term holoprismatic nexus. The nexus exists, but holoprismatic doesn't. So without terminology, you end up not being able to explain something. So you either invent terminology or you borrow terminology, and that's how language works. That's literally how language works. Anyway, I'm looking in the chat. Somebody else. Mark Collard, loving this short video. Yes, not so short. Okay, but thank you very much for that. Okay, and don't feel bad because I am going to wrap up. But you just reminded me. I might come back later. I don't know. But yes, in fact, I will come back later. I need to help something. I need to help someone with something, and later we'll come back with maps and we'll discuss my maps, and we'll discuss azimuth and location of the sun, or heading to the sun. And I'll use a couple of videos to illustrate what I'm explaining about. When the sun is in your field, you don't have a distance to it. All you have is a field of light that you can see. You go higher, you can see more, but you're also in a different field, different range, and you can see more. Like, well, of course, you're in a different range. It's like if at this level you had level 10 mist, and at this other level you had level 1 mist. You got less mist, you know, or a change in interfering level of interference. Anyway, I will come back. I will try to explain that better with better words. Okay, thank you very much. Share the first part of this with the wolf pack. Those dumbasses who've made an emblem of a wolf in a bear claw footprint. Just dumbasses. Okay, thank you very much. I will be back in a while. Shalom. Adeu.